Ever since the war in Ukraine began, protesters all around the world have denounced Russia's attack on Ukraine. Most notably, many of them have been inside Russia. The human rights group ODV Info says Russia has arrested nearly 15,000 protesters there. They've been arrested for holding up signs saying as little as the phrase 2 words, or in some cases, even holding up a blank piece of paper. The crackdown is so broad. There's this video shot by an activist nonprofit organization posted online yesterday showing authorities detain one woman who's about to speak out in support of Russian actions.
Ну, а тех, кто, например, не выходит на митинги и кто считает, что военная операция, которую развернула наша страна, снимайте?
Да, мы все мнения показали.
Вот я тоже хочу высказать тогда свое мнение.
Скажите.
Меня устраивает то, что...
Это шок-контент.
In response, thousands of Russians have begun to flee their country. The New York Times chronicled some of their stories. One 30-year-old Russian who fled to Turkey after getting arrested tells the New York Times this, quote, "It was like I was seeing the Soviet Union," she said of her last days in Moscow. "I was thinking that the people who left the Soviet Union in the 1920s probably made a better decision than those who stayed and ended up in the camps." Let's bring one of the correspondents, island on that story, New York Times Moscow bureau chief Anton Chovanovsky, live from Istanbul. Julia and Claire are also back with us. Anton, I want to ask you first, did you leave? And is Istanbul where you're going to be reporting on Russia for now?
We did, unfortunately, have to leave. The Times were totally committed to covering Russia, and we really hope to be back very soon. But as you know, Putin signed a law recently that punishes so-called false news about the war with as much as 15 years in prison. And false news in their definition can be as simple as referring to the war as a war, as opposed to as a special military operation, which is what the Kremlin calls it. So yes, we obviously, the security of our staff is the most important thing, and we have temporarily pulled our reporters out of Russia.
You wrote one of the most insightful stories. It was on the front page of the New York Times, at least here. I'm not sure where it was in the international version, but it was President's Weekend here, and it was about Putin's stability. It really questioned his state of mind in the earliest days of this war. And I wonder if you can tell me how that may or may not influence the Russian people taking to the streets. I mean, do they think that he's acting of sound mind?
That's a great question, because I think a lot of people in Russia, even if they didn't agree with most of what Putin did, kind of assumed he was more or less rational and was pursuing sort of, you know, his agenda, but at the end of the day, not do anything as crazy as attack Ukraine. You know, even as the U.S. was warning of an invasion in recent months, very, very few people in Russia, even the experts, believed it. So given that shift and given what we see now Putin is capable of, there are certainly people in Russia that are horrified by what's going on.
Anton, I want to understand and make sure we don't oversimplify this idea of state media and Putin's grip on information flow. I mean, here, people can watch whatever they want, and it doesn't keep 40% of people from understanding that, no, the election wasn't stolen. I mean, what is the real access to real information through the internet, to the truth about Ukraine? And can they get those pictures? Can they find out what's really happening? Just give me the equation of how much of it is they can't see it and how much of it is they actually